If you haven't heard about Anchor, it's the easiest way to make a podcast. Let me explain. It's free. There's creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. And you can make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. Anchor will also distribute your podcast for you so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcast, and many more. Download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started.
What's up, everybody, and welcome to episode 13.
Episode 13. Perfect for Halloween.
Yeah.
Spooky.
Yeah, baby. It's spooky time. And, I'm Cody, and joined by my
Did you say Belial?
Nate.
Huh? Are you already
Belial? You know, I wish that my co-host was Belial, or he could be, the third person on the podcast. Yeah, he just go.
What a funny movie.
So, but we'll get more into that later. But did you know that Kanye West is a huge Revenge of the
I saw
Sixth
you
stan,
tweet
dude?
about that. So.
Talking to a presidential candidate. I know you think Obi-Wan getting tired now. Don't jump and
Look at that.
the higher ground.
I saw that he's going to go on Joe Rogan's podcast. Hopefully, are we going to have him?
I want to talk about the Smash Brothers update.
Yeah, man.
We need him.
I
come to our podcast.
Yeah, if we tell him that we're going to watch his favorite movies, if we just say, hey, we're going to talk about Akira, we're going to talk about The Holy Mountain, come on the podcast, we need you, because those are two of his favorite movies. And
We'll do a Kanye West episode.
Yeah, maybe we should do an episode like that. Maybe we could do an episode where we talk about.
Well, I thought about doing one where we kind of watch some movies from directors, like their favorite movies, and just I'm not talking. Obviously, there's gonna be some generic movies that they might like or whatever, but I'm talking about maybe some of these other ones typically that people don't see. Because it'd be interesting to see maybe if this is where some of these directors get their ideas from. So. Or the style, because they have all the lists on Letterboxd and everything in that. I'm curious to see what kind of movies they like.
Yeah, I like seeing some of their lists of favorite movies. You can find Quentin Tarantino's favorite movies and Edgar Wright's favorite movies, and I know I've seen what's his name, Ari Aster. Is it Ari or Ari? Ari Aster. And I always looking through their favorite movies. I'm like, oh, okay, that makes sense. I could see why, see the influence in some of their movies.
Damn, dude, there's a list on Letterboxd called every horror film made from 1895 to present. 23,000 films.
I saw that. I clicked. That's crazy. That's crazy that someone made that list. Some of the lists that I find on Letterboxd, I'm like, wait, who did this and how did they?
Some of these super old ones, it's probably just because they're black and white and they look messed up, but they look terrifying.
Awesome. We love terrifying. We love to get
someone commented saying, sure... I think New Mutants needs to be added.
That's funny. I mean, there's definitely some horror elements there, so. And there's also some scary acting in that too. It's scary.
Well, have you been this week?
Awesome, man. Been pretty fantastic. I got my slippers on and I feel nice and comfy right now. And yeah,
it's a perfect Sunday.
Happier. Couldn't be doing any better. Yeah, man.
Good.
You?
Just good. Just chilling. Just hopefully waiting for some of these movies to come to the movie theater and everything, but
Yeah.
that ain't gonna happen.
I think we're
Well, it's just
be
crazy
waiting
because
a
I had a
while.
coworker like ask me like, "Do you think it's ever gonna go back to normal?" And I was like, "I don't think like we'll ever go back to like a normal sense of what it used to be. Like we'll just have to start our new thing, like just continue to move forward, but it's never gonna go back in a sense to like what it was like." And I was just like, people like are going to football games or like t-ball games and like all this stuff. Like they're going shopping again. They're going out to eat at Texas Roadhouse or something. But I was like, the crazy part about it, and I was like, I love movies and everything. It's just movie theaters are shutting down. It seems like while everybody's kind of moving forward, like movie theaters are still stuck back in March. And so it's just
That's really true. I know you've said that a couple times, but right now, like I feel like that feels the truest like it's been because it everywhere I go, everything just seems normal. Like I see people on like my Snapchat and stuff like that, like going to Disney, and everything looks just normal, but
yeah,
people have
exactly.
masks on. Like people are out doing things. We went shopping yesterday, and everywhere was pretty packed. Like they were limiting like capacity and everything, but it just seems everything seems pretty much normal except for people.
Yeah, you drive past a movie theater and you see it empty, and you're just like, "Oh, yep, that's March movie theater right there." I don't know. I feel like these movie theaters are just, or these entertainment companies with these films, like they should have just put them in movie theaters. I don't get why. I don't know.
Yeah.
But
yeah, someone's commenting right now on on the YouTube channel or whatever, and like, why the hell is this the movie theater podcast? Like, we talk about
because I want to see these movies.
Someone's gonna go.
I mean, it was a cool idea in the beginning, like how you can just like, see these classic ones. Like you could go see Hocus Pocus, or you could see Halloween or something. But nah, you want those movies back, bro. No, but I agree with like what you said. It's nice to be able to watch some of these classic movies like that you might have not been able to.
Yeah, like Hubie Halloween, dude. Come on. We got Hubie Halloween. That's an instant classic.
In the Haunted Hill or whatever haunting of Bly Manor, just.
Yeah. I'm probably not going to watch that, but if anyone who's a fan who's listening and has watched it, if it's good, let us know. You can tweet us. You can, send us a message on Instagram at 2D Film Club. We're on Twitter is our Twitter 2D Film Club?
Yeah, it's 2D Film Club.
It's something. You can find it. We're on Twitter.
Soon TikTok, right? Soon that TikTok. Maybe some Triller, because that's where Chance the Rapper is. So maybe we'll go to Triller.
Yeah, man. But let us know what other are you watching any spooky movies? You watching anything scary? You want to know what you're watching? Because we've been watching a bunch of stuff. And it's fun. I feel like I feel extra motivated this year to watch a ton of horror films, and it kind of alternates. I feel like every other year I'm like really motivated, and then there's like a year in between where like next year I'll probably be like, all right, I'll watch.
So which ones did you watch this week?
Well, we watched our movies that we picked, but let me see. I don't even know. Oh, I rewatched. I watched the 2011.
Yeah, I saw that
thing.
You gave it 5 stars.
Movie. Yeah, I gave it 5 out of 2.5 stars. Yeah, I watched it, and it's it's okay. It's not great. It's just so hard to live up to the John Carpenter, The Thing.
So what problems do you have with the newer one? Is it just because maybe they try too much, or?
No, it's just it feels like, so it's a prequel to the 1980s The Thing, but I mean, it's pretty much. I mean, it's kind of more. It's like a remake, but it makes it so at the end you're like, oh, it's a prequel because you see like the dogs or whatever that you see in the beginning of the John Carpenter the thing. But it just feels like I don't know. It just doesn't feel as creative, and then the effects aren't bad because I think that in this one they use kind of a combination of some practical effects, but they use so much
Yeah.
CGI that most of it just looks like it's all CGI. Even some of the scenes where there is some practical effects, they're like covering it with.
And I feel
more
like that was
CGI.
like one of the complaints
So
I
it really,
remember like seeing about this one is just that people didn't like CGI that much.
yeah, yeah. It looks fine, but it's just when you compare it to the amazing practical effects in the thing, it just doesn't even compare. Um, but yeah, I think the thing is, I mean, one of the greatest horror films or greatest movies in
Classic.
general, and yeah, it's amazing. I love it, and so I'm gonna watch. I don't know why I decided. Well, actually, no, I do know why I decided. I was last night. I wanted to watch something, but I was kind of busy, and I knew that I probably wasn't going to pay too much attention whenever I watched. I was like, you know what? I saw this on HBO, and I was like, let me just put it on. I'll just watch it. So I did, and yeah, it's okay.
Have you been able to look at some of the selections of like scary movies that are on like some of these streaming services? Like, I know you have Shudder,
Oh
but like, are
yeah.
there any ones that you're planning on watching next?
Yes, I have to look real quick. Let me give you a little. There's so many that I want to watch. Okay, I'm just gonna read off a few. There's this movie on Criterion Channel. Oh, it's on Amazon Prime too. It's called The Witch Who Came from the Sea from 1976, and it looks like an interesting kind of I don't know little schlocky kind of witch movie. It looks interesting. Oh yeah, I started watching the 1980 Maniac movie. I need to finish that. I do want to watch the original The Witches before the new one comes out. The remake that's coming out. Is it this week or next week? It's coming out soon on HBO Max. And the original one is on from Nicholas Roeg. It's on Netflix. There's some other things I want to watch. I want to watch The Crazies, the original.
I remember seeing that one.
George A. Romero.
Not the original, but I remember seeing
Just
The Crazies. Like yeah.
The remake. Yeah, I think I saw the remake too, but I really don't remember much about it. But I've never seen the original one. I want to watch that. But yeah, there's a lot of things that I want to watch. I have a list right now on Letterboxd with things that I want to watch and what I've been watching. But yeah, man. What about you? You watched some stuff?
I watched Hereditary.
Yeah.
And really enjoyed that. It was funny because I was watching it in my room, and then my wife walks in right at the part where, spoiler alert, the daughter gets her head just like chopped off from the telephone pole. And she looked at me, she's like, "What are you watching?" And I was like, surprise.
That's so funny.
And then she was like, I don't want to see that. I don't want to see that. And then I was like, oh, well, they don't show the head. Like, you're perfectly fine. Don't worry about it. And then literally the next scene, it just shows, like, the ants, like, all over the bloody head. I was like, well, never mind. Sorry.
Nice.
But I really enjoyed it. There's, like, a lot of stuff that, like, I want to talk about, and there's some things I want to ask you, like, how you feel. But, just, like, watching it, it's just such an interesting movie because, looking at, like, some of the stuff that Ari Aster, correct? He was like saying like that he wanted to make a movie that really focused on like suffering, and so like that's why he like really tried to do the movie the way that he did. And I feel like as I was watching it, you really do have that feel throughout it. but I really enjoyed everybody's acting, and it talked about how is it it talked about how hold on, just pulling up Toni Collette. She said that she really wanted to focus more like on comedy movies, but she saw the script and she's like, I have to do this movie. And I thought she did such a good job, especially when she's flying around the room, scurrying like a little spider.
Yeah, she was so good.
I just feel like everybody fits so perfect in the movie, like Alex Wolff and Gabriel Byrne and just everybody in it.
Yeah, the acting is really good. Yeah, everyone. I feel like Toni Collette definitely outshines everyone, but when you look at every individual performance, I feel like they're all good. And what's her name from The Leftovers?
Yeah.
She was great.
Shout out to Leftovers. You have to watch it.
Yeah.
But it was nice seeing Gabriel, and I kept thinking, I'm like, what movie was he in? Like, we watched like some movies for our film club, and it was Dead Man and The Usual Suspects. I don't know why. For some reason, I thought he was in the one that we watched from Christopher Nolan, and then I was like, oh no, never mind. He was in Usual Suspects.
Yeah.
But he did a good job too,
even though he was really good.
Minimal role, I would say, just like not that much, but the part where they're just eating dinner like in silence and everything like that, just I don't know.
Yeah,
but
I love it. I love this movie because it's a horror film, but I feel like it's first and foremost a family drama, and it is, and I think that's what makes it work so well, is just all the performances and just this whole family dynamics and what happens with. I mean, this movie's so bleak, and what happens with the daughter with the whole telephone pole and everything, like that whole scene, like it really did, like it shook me when I saw it. I saw it in theaters, and I was like,
what was the reaction in the theater?
And then, I don't really remember. I remember when I saw it, I remember I was thankful that there weren't too many people there, because I was really worried that I was gonna watch it with a bunch of idiots, because there's so many times where I see horror films and people are annoying. And especially when you see something like Hereditary, where this is one of those movies where critics loved it, and then a lot of audience members like hated it and are like, oh, it's stupid, it's not scary, it's boring, it's slow, it's blah blah blah. Like, so many people hated this movie, but it's just because I don't know, they just didn't. I don't know. I don't know what the hell they want, but they're wrong. They're wrong, because it's so good. But yeah, I always get worried when I see movies like this, because I know that there's going to be people that will ruin it, because it's happened to me before, where I'm like, okay, I'm seeing like a slow burn horror movie, and then you see like a group of like teenagers or something, and you're like, oh, geez,
here we go again.
They don't know what they're about to watch. Yeah. But yeah, thankfully no one ruined it.
Yeah, that whole scene was just crazy, where he drives home. He like wants to look in the back mirror, but he like briefly looks back. Yeah,
he can't,
because he knew exactly what happened.
Oh my gosh!
And then you just hear when he's laying in bed, the mom just screaming. You're like, oh. But what I thought was interesting about that whole part is it didn't dive into this whole thing of them like, this like blame game in a sense. It was like life just, it went right away to the funeral for the daughter. And so I kind of like that, because it, it still was focusing on the story of like what this movie was going to be about. And I'm glad that it didn't like just focus on the deaths in a sense. Like the grandma's death, like it just briefly kind of touched about a little bit. And then you have the daughters briefly touched, but the whole movie is them just going through this whole situation of weird shit happening.
Yeah, and then you have all these. Yeah, and then you have all this stuff going on. I mean, you have all this tension between you know, between those two, between the mom and Toni Collette and her son, and it's just so like it's awkward, and it feels like it all that like really, I feel like that's like that got under my skin the most out of everything. Even like towards the end, you get some really like crazy, like scary supernatural stuff that's going on. That's pretty scary, but the stuff I feel like the death of the daughter and everything, I feel like it got under my skin the most because it just felt
Oh
so
yeah, for
real.
sure.
It's like something that can actually happen, and the way that it was just directed and filmed and everything was just so well done, and it really made you feel like this was happening, and I don't know, kind of like just I imagine myself in his shoes. I'm like, oh my,
Yeah,
like what
what the
if
hell would I
what
do?
if
Yeah.
that something like, yeah, and just the scene of him when he goes and he lays down, and then you hear Toni Collette. You don't see her go out into the car, but you hear her reaction. You're like, oh my
But what I thought
gosh.
was crazy about that whole
Yeah, it's
scene is
just
it seems like he was laying in bed, like kind of teary-eyed a little bit the whole time with his eyes wide open the
yeah,
whole night. The whole night.
yeah.
Because it seems like when you hear
I
the
mean,
scream.
I don't think he
Oh no, not at all.
couldn't. I could not sleep. So he's just, but he doesn't. Oh, yeah, he doesn't know how
And
to
even the
deal with it.
part like where
He
she's
can't
like
sleep.
laying in the car, like when he gets home from something, and he like is standing outside the house like with his bike, and he's just like the son like waiting to go in, and he's nervous about everything. It's just crazy. But I watched
Yeah,
this movie like with my AirPods in, and I really loved I loved the minimal score that it had, and like in the scenes where it was kind of getting intense, like it was just like this little faint like thumping. I don't know, like drums or whatever. And so
hmm.
what listening and like or watching the movie with my AirPods, I really liked the music choice that Ari had in this film. So, but yeah, I gave it
Nice,
5 stars. It's a good film,
awesome,
especially the end.
awesome.
Sawing that head off, saw. Just crazy. And
Yeah,
then you just hear a thump,
yeah, it's pretty
just
wild.
a thump.
Yeah, it's one of those movies where I remember right when I was done watching it, I immediately was thinking like, okay, like this is one of those movies. I don't know if I can ever watch it again, but I loved it. And then like the next day, I'm like thinking about something. I'm like, okay, I can't wait to watch it
How many
again.
times have you seen it?
But I've only seen it maybe two or
Okay.
three times, maybe three times. But it's definitely one of those movies I can't watch all the time because it's just really
Oh
disturbing,
yeah.
and I
It's kind of like Midsummer.
I
Like I
don't
want
know.
to watch
It's
it
definitely
again, but
dark.
it's like what a ride that movie was. I just gotta give
Yeah,
myself some time.
it's
Yeah.
intense. Yeah, the movies like this are the ones that uh, mess me up the most. Like I have a hard time.
Does he have any other movies that are coming out, Ari? Or
I know he's. I'm pretty sure he's working on something. I don't know. Um,
it'll be a 4 hour nightmare. It'll be a 4 hour nightmare comedy.
oh yeah, yeah. I remember him talking about that. Yeah, so that sounds fun. Can't wait for that.
So he said that he finished a draft, and he said, all I know is it's going to be 4 hours long.
Wow. Well, that's crazy.
Jeez. Well, I'll watch it.
All right. Can't wait. Sign me up. Cool. That's fun. Was there anything else that you
No, I
watched
just watched
this week?
Hereditary.
No. Did I watch? I don't think I. No, I don't think this was last week. But I also watched. I watched a couple other things. I watched Ginger Snaps, which I think I've seen before, but I don't think I. I think it was one of those situations where I wasn't really paying attention. It was just kind of like on in the background, and so I remembered a lot of stuff, but I felt like I didn't really actually watch
Yeah.
the movie. But I watched it again recently. It's on Shudder, and it's a werewolf movie, but it's like a teen. girl, like these two sisters who are in like high school, and one of them gets attacked by a werewolf, and she starts kind of changing, and it's kind of like a slow, like she changes over the course of the movie, and she doesn't really become a werewolf until the end, but she starts changing, like she starts getting like a tail and like some fangs or whatever, and it's really good. I actually really liked it. It kind of reminded me of like it kind of has like like a Disney Channel movie kind of vibe to it, um, but it's rated R, and it gets pretty wild. And it came out in like 2000. I think that's probably why it reminds me of like Disney Channel stuff. Because just like that era, and I don't know, but it's I really liked it a lot, and the performances from some of the kids in it were really good. Like the main girl, who's not the main girl in the movie isn't the one that actually turns into a werewolf. It's her sister. Her sister's kind of annoying, but that's just kind of the character. But the Emily Perkins plays Bridget, and I was really impressed with her. I thought she was so good. But yeah, it's good. It's on Shudder, and I think it's on Tubi too. It's worth
Tubi.
It's a fun one. Yeah,
That sounds fun.
Yeah, it's good. It's a good time. Oh, and I watched Halloween 4.
Was that the space one? Just kidding.
Yeah, Michael Myers in space.
I remember seeing those like on Sci-Fi and like watching and being like, "This is just cheesy as hell."
Jason X.
Yeah.
Jason Goes to Hell.
Leprechaun versus Freddy Krueger versus Jason in.
Yeah.
Back to.
Do you have a like a favorite horror franchise like that has like one of those ones that has a ton of movies like that?
That is a good question. I would have to say like I don't know because I haven't really watched them in such a long time that like it's kind of I feel like I would want to rewatch them and then kind of try to decide. But I would have to say the only one I can think of is like Chucky, like all those different ones.
Yeah. Child's Play too.
Yeah, like just growing up, like those were on TV, Sci-Fi Channel, and everything like that. So watching those, that's what comes to mind right away. And Chucky still scares the shit out of me. But yeah, what about you?
Nice. I really like the Friday the 13th franchise. I mean, there's definitely some really bad ones. Like Jason X is pretty trash, and Jason Goes to Hell. I don't remember anything about it, but I do remember that he's barely even in it. But I think that one's a fun one. It's fun seeing Jason change. Like, he's not even really in the first movie, and then the second movie he has like a freaking potato sack over his head, and in each movie he's different. And yeah, I like those movies a lot. Those are fun. I like the Saw movies.
Yeah, actually, Saw maybe is like another one as well.
Saw is good. It's some of them are not that great either. But the thing that I love about Saw is that it becomes so complicated. Like the storyline, I love that they committed so hard to just going through and like continuing the story, and it just gets crazier and crazier, and it makes less and less sense.
Oh yeah,
but it's just so fun. It's like, what is going on?
How many are there? Because I remember like after like 4 or 5, I was like, I have no clue what's going on in the story, but I'm gonna watch this. And there's so many of them that I feel like I get confused by like which one is in what. But I loved like the first couple, and I kind of I do want to rewatch them.
I do too. I've been really wanting to rewatch them because it's been a while, and it becomes such a blur. Like, I remember the first one really well, and then all the sequels, I'm like, I don't remember.
I think I remember 1, 2, and 3, but like as it goes, I kind of like the storyline a little bit with like the lead detective and who kind of like is the villain and who all that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But then like after that, it kind of becomes a blur. Did you see the one that came out a couple years ago?
Jigsaw?
Yeah.
Yeah, I did.
Did you like that
Did you
one?
see it?
No, I didn't.
Um, I did, but it's definitely it's not. I mean, it's not one of the best ones. It's okay. The thing that's kind of I don't know. I was kind of excited for it because they were kind of marketing it as more of like a reboot.
Yeah.
They're kind of sort of starting over a little bit, and after watching it, I was like, I almost wish that they would have just kept going with the insane storyline, which I don't even remember how the one before, like 7 ended, but yeah, it's okay. It's fun.
Well, you have the new one coming out with Chris Rock.
Yeah.
Spiral, right?
Spiral. Yeah, hopefully that's
Wait,
good.
is it called Spiral?
Yeah, it's called Spiral.
From the Book of Saw.
I mean, last I checked, it was.
Directed by Darren Bozeman.
Nice.
Oh, so he did Saw 2, 3. He's done a couple of those.
Some of the Saw.
Yeah, so it's nice to have someone familiar with it.
Yeah. Yeah, so hopefully
I'm curious to see like Chris Rock and Samuel Jackson and see how they do. Comes out May 21st, 2021.
Nice. I miss when Saw was. Remember when Saw came out like every year, every single year, like October or whatever. It's like okay.
It was Saw or Jackass. It was one of those, right?
Yeah. I miss some of those series like that, like Saw, Jackass. What else was there? Like Paranormal Activity movies. Like there's something about knowing like okay, yeah, there's a new one coming out every year that I kind of miss because there's not really. I feel like there's not really any of those like franchises that are doing.
I feel like
anymore.
they try that with like The Conjuring and stuff, but I feel like I just got so confused by it. But yeah, man, I remember like going to like a midnight showing for like Saw 5 or 6. And I don't even remember the movie at all, but I just remember going to the midnight showing. And then same with Paranormal Activity. Like I remember seeing the 3rd one in theaters, and that was crazy.
Nice.
So,
yeah, those are good.
Do you like the Paranormal Activity series?
Yeah, I do. I do. Even the ones that aren't as good, like I still enjoyed them. Like even like the marked ones, which is probably the worst. I still enjoyed it. Yeah, I don't know. I like them.
I feel like they just get forgotten so quick.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't feel like I'm hearing anybody talk about Paranormal Activity anymore. And I feel like everybody talked about it. It was like that movie that you go to school and everybody would be like, holy shit, you saw that movie?
Yeah, it was such a big deal. And it's awesome because it's another one of those movies where it had such a low budget, and it was one of those things where, it was playing at some film festivals. It just got so big, and you heard people talking about it, and like, there's this movie.
It had this realism to it, that's why.
Yeah. Yeah, it was good.
I did rewatch Paranormal Activity, the first one, with my wife, because she's never seen it. She wasn't too happy. She was pretty scared.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Nice. Excellent.
Just like the whole part, like where they're sleeping and like the ghost or whatever like drags them out of bed. Yeah, she didn't like that part.
Yeah, there's something about like, I know like the found footage movies, I know it got like a lot of people got so tired of them because there's so many of them that were being made, but there's something that is scary about them because it does feel kind of real. There's so many dumb ones, but when they're done well, like I feel like they can be pretty scary.
Oh, for sure.
Pretty scary stuff. But well, anyway, we've been talking a while, but should we talk about?
Let's go ahead and start talking about
let's start talking about these
Basket
movies.
Case and M.
We should probably put like timestamps for the folks at home listening that don't want to hear all the BS before.
Hey, they want to hear about
They're
Saw. They're probably like, oh shit, I totally forgot about that movie. Just kidding. No, they probably didn't.
No, they probably already tuned out. Well, if you made it this far, we thank you.
Welcome.
Well, welcome to you got to the real deal. You're the real fans.
We have to talk about Basket Case first. We have
right.
to.
Let's do it. Let's do it. So we watched Basket Case. In Basket Case, well, let me just kind of give you a little bit of my personal history with Basket Case. So I watched Basket Case probably around 10 years ago for the first time, and it was around the time when I saw I think it was Evil Dead 2 that kind of put me on this, like, I found out about Evil Dead 2 and it sounded amazing. I was like, oh, that sounds fun, like a horror comedy kind of thing. And I watched it and fell in love with it immediately. And I was like, I need more movies like this. Like, I want to watch every movie that's like this movie. There definitely has to be more. And when I would look up like horror comedies like from the 80s and stuff, Basket Case would always come up like as one of the first things. And I watched it. I don't remember where. I must have seen it it must have been on some sort of streaming service if I watched it back then. I have no idea. But I watched Basket Case and I thought it was so funny. Because I just never knew that there were movies like this. Like, it was just I felt like I found gold. Like, I was like, where have these movies been all my life? Because it's one of those things where you never hear anyone talk about Basket Case. Like, so many people, there's probably people listening that are like, I've never even, what is Basket Case? And if you're listening to this and you haven't seen Basket Case, turn this off right now and watch Basket Case.
Yes, go do it. Go.
It was worth it. But it's a super low budget horror comedy film that's about it's Siamese twins where one of them is just a regular kid, but his Siamese twin is this like little blob of flesh with red eyes and just looks
Oriental.
Oh my gosh,
that whole scene was so funny.
There's so many funny things in this movie. But yeah, so he has this little blob of flesh with two little arms. It's just like a little thing just on his side. And when
it's like a crescent roll or something like that. That's what it kind of looks like.
Like a croissant.
A croissant. It's got like these like little like tentacle arms or whatever, but then it's just like a blob in the center.
Oh yeah. And it looks hilarious, but also it looks really funny, but it's also kind of creepy at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
There's something really it's just charming. The practical effects, where a lot of him in the movie is like puppet work, but then there's sometimes where it's stop motion animation, and it's all of it is great.
Well, I saw something that like I think it was the director's daughter. She was the one that was acting as the deformed Siamese twin, because like the costume like shrunk down, so the daughter, it would only fit like in her, so she had to like wear it and like do all of that stuff, which is kind of funny.
That's awesome. And I read too that that what's the kid's name, the main character?
Oh,
I forgot. Anyway, but the actor Kevin,
is it Kevin?
Dwayne Bradley.
Yeah, Dwayne Bradley.
So Kevin, I guess that he did. I think I read somewhere that he did the voice of Belial, his brother, and they also made like a face mask of him. So that face is actually like from a face mask of
It doesn't surprise me.
So it makes sense. This is really funny. So when you hear all that moaning and stuff from Belial, that's Kevin doing it. So beautiful performance there from Kevin. Everyone loves these movies where someone plays two Nicholas, and there's other movies where people play two characters, but no one's talking about the amazing performance from Kevin Van Henterreich as Dwayne Bradley and his deformed brother Belial. It's beautiful. So yeah, but it's like a a tale of vengeance. When they were young, they got separated by these doctors. And did they? I can't remember in the beginning. What did they? They just threw Belial away, right? Like they just like threw him in a dumpster or something.
Yeah, they threw him away, and that's what I thought was so funny about the movie, is they separate them, and then Dwayne hears because they can communicate or whatever through the voices in their head, and he goes to the garbage sack, and I'm like, they literally just threw him away, and I feel like it was at someone else's house too. So the garbage bag wasn't even at their own house; it was at someone else's because it showed him walking through the forest, right? And then what I thought was so funny about the whole thing was Belial or whatever, he just rips open the bag. I'm like, he could have escaped this whole time. Like, why?
Yeah. They just threw him away. Like, I mean, at least kill him first, I guess. Yeah.
Nothing to see here.
Yeah, those doctors messed up.
No,
man. They should have killed him first because.
But that whole scene though of like them separating it, like the crunching and like with the knife and the blood and everything, I was like, oh, this is gross. Just like how they really like maxed out that volume for like that cutting, that crunch noise was just loud as hell. Or even when he's eating the burgers in the basket. Slow down. I love how he just dumps the whole bag of burgers like in the thing. He's just munching away.
Yeah, I love that part. It's funny. My wife was in the room. She wasn't watching the movie at all. And then at I think it was at the part when he feeds them all the hot dogs. I was like, "Hey, Monica," I was like, "Look at this." I was like, "Is this a mood or what?" and then you see this basket, all these hot dogs getting dropped into a basket. She's like, "What the hell is in the basket?" And I'm like, "Well, you should watch the movie and find out."
Belial's in the basket.
And hot dogs, apparently.
No, I did enjoy like the practical effect that they had, and even like the stop motion that they did. Like, I mean, yeah, it's cheesy, but it was done in the '80s, so
and the budget was like $35,000 or something like that. So.
Yeah, that's one of the things like on that they talk about when Dwayne is like paying for his hotel room and it shows him with a wad of cash. That wad of cash was like the actual production money that they were giving him. That was like for the whole movie that they had. So I thought that was kind of funny. But I loved like all like the side characters like as well in the movie. How yes, like you're focusing on Dwayne and like his Siamese twin because they're staying at this hotel. But I love how like everything that happens, it's concerning to like all the other tenants. Like screaming and noise, like all the tenants are running, and then the hotel manager is like just sick and tired of doing all this stuff, and he's like, I don't even know why I'm doing this. It's like one of those like classic like hotel motel things that you might see like in New York or whatever, where they're like all just chilling like down on the main floor, they're just talking, gossiping, and I don't know, that's what I enjoyed about the movie and everything, just all the side characters. And
I did too. I loved it, and you could tell like all these most of these people have never even acted before. Like just like it just feels like they just pulled people off the streets. Like, hey, you want to be in this movie? And they're like, okay, and it really. I don't know. It really works well. I mean, a lot of the acting in this movie is not good, but it is. I feel like it's a good movie for what it is and such a low budget, and then there's all these little things like like the acting and stuff. It's some of the cheesy elements of it just really add to the charm of it. Where, I don't know, it worked. I loved every time. I just loved everyone in the hotel. How it's like this little community, and every time something happens, they all run upstairs and like, what's going on? And just the image of the hotel manager, like when he lifts up that thing and he's like, oh, and he goes upstairs. It's so funny.
No, I know. And then just like even like the New York City like doctor, whatever, like how when Dwayne walks in, he's like, "Yeah, I need to get checked. Something's not right with my chest." He's like, "All
Yeah.
right, go in another room. Take your shirt off, whatever." And he's just like laughing about it because this guy probably doesn't seem like an
Yeah.
actual doctor, and it makes sense why like the dad would try to separate his kids, and like the only people that he can find are like these, like a veterinarian and like these other people, like a shitty doctor or whatever. But it was definitely an interesting movie, and it's not at all what I expected, but it was entertaining, and I gave it 4.5 stars. I gave it 4.5 stars because that entertainment factor to it, just I was glued like the whole time.
Wow.
I was curious what was gonna happen and everything, and it had some comical
awesome.
Parts as well.
I'm glad that you liked it so much, because I was really like, I don't know if Nate's gonna dig this or not. This is one of those movies where
No, out of all the ones that we've chosen so far for the Halloween like episodes and stuff, for like the podcast, Basket Case might be like up there.
Awesome.
Yeah, it might be like
That
one of
makes
my
me so
favorite ones
happy.
that we've
Well,
watched
if
so far.
you if you like Basket Case that much, you should definitely check out Brain Damage, from director Frank
Yeah.
Henenlotter. It's another really great one that's really similar and really funny. He has some other movies that I haven't seen that I really want to watch. But yeah, I love it. There's just so much that I love about it. It's just fun, and it's just so just silly, but also it's creepy too, and it's weird. And then you just have so many Dwayne Bradley's just such a funny character, like with his fluffy, luxurious hair.
Oh,
like his
yeah,
hair is
for
just
sure.
hilarious. And then
And then when he's like hooking up with the girl, like he's trying to be like all mysterious, and it's just so funny because I think the funny part about the movie is like he goes on a date with a girl he literally met at the doctor's office because she's a secretary, and then she's like, "Silly, like I always wanted to go on a date with you. You're just like different from everyone else." I'm like, "You literally met him yesterday.
Yeah.
What are you talking
That's so funny.
about?"
And I love when he's leaving the doctor's office or whatever, and he like sets Belial's basket like over by the door, and he whispers.
Oh,
yeah,
he I don't want to hear. I don't want him to hear him.
Why are we whispering? I don't want him to hear. Because he knew Belial was going to be jealous and freaking go crazy. And I love the part. Oh yeah,
Belial, I think that definitely was jealous. Yeah, he could feel that kissing.
I think that the whole like jealousy part of this movie, it really is good. I really like it, and it makes sense. Like for this, I mean, it's such a weird story, but I'm like, okay, this makes sense, and how they're connected to each other still in some ways. And Belial senses that he's with this girl, and then that scene when you see him in stop motion, he's like just scream moaning or whatever, and he threw the TV off the off the thing, and he just wrecks this freaking room. He's just this dumb blob with arms, like, oh man, and everyone's like, "What's going on?"
Just shaking the bed too. He's just it's like one of those situations too where you're being obnoxious to your neighbors. He's like lifting up and down like the bed, like just like purposely like hitting it.
Oh, I can't sleep. It's so good. It's so good. And every time when they go and they kill these doctors and everything, all the kills, it's just every time it makes me laugh because he just looks so funny, just like it reminds me of like the face huggers like from Alien or something. Like he's just like this blob with little arms and he's like wrestling in the face, scratching him and
scratching it, and then he just rips him in half,
ripping him up. So.
Yeah, it's such a fun. Yeah, it was just such a funny, interesting movie that I didn't see coming at all. Well, I guess like as I was watching, I was like, okay, I kind of have like an idea of like what's gonna happen then. you know, you have Dwayne. Dwayne's gonna be like, you know, I think we need to go our separate ways. Like we're separated now, and you know, I like this girl, and then like, you know, Belial gets pissed off, and he's gonna like try to kill the girl, but then like Dwayne's gonna stop him, and he's gonna have in the big full circle of things, he's gonna kill Belial, and
Mm-hmm.
it's gonna hurt him, and then life is gonna try to go on. And then at the end, I'm like, nope, that's
Yeah.
not at all what I thought was gonna happen. All right, I guess we're falling off a building and
And the way Belial grabs him by his crotch and
deuces.
lifts him up, that part was so funny too. Because I'm like, how does this little blob just lift him up like that? It was so funny. It reminded me of like a Darth Vader force choke or something, but it was so
Oh
so
yeah.
good.
And then they're just like chilling, like hanging off of like the side of the window, and then Belial ends up like choking them to death, and so then they fall. What a movie! What an experience!
Well, I wanted to tell you, there's some other fun trivia stuff. I kind of want to read through some of it real quick because it's just so funny. Where'd it go? Okay, so most of the end credits at the end of the movie, most of them are fake apparently, because the crew was so small they made like fake names, or they repeated like the same names over again just to and they just made up names. So that was pretty funny. Let's see what else. I read somewhere too that Frank Henenlotter, when he made this movie, like he really didn't think that anyone was going to watch this movie at all. Like and you can tell that it's something that he was, I don't know, it feels like something he's passionate about, and he wanted to make a movie. And he was just having fun doing it. He was just having fun making a movie, and it didn't, and I don't know what happened with it, like theatrically. Like, I mean, maybe played at like some theaters or something, like midnight showings or whatever. But where it became a cult classic because people found it on VHS, and that's where it kind of found an audience. Was people found this movie on VHS and watched it, and kind of became a cult hit. And then every time you hear like a woman walking with heels or whatever, that's Frank Henenlotter, the director. He's walking around in heels. He recorded that himself doing it. Yeah.
That's
and
so
since the budget was so
that.
low, they went dumpster diving a lot, and they looked for like furniture and stuff for the sets. So yeah, makes sense.
Doesn't surprise me.
Yeah, it's a freaking awesome movie, and you should watch it. And there's sequels too, which I have not seen. I don't think that they're as good, but he directed the sequels, which is interesting. I was reading some reviews for the second and third one. It sounds like the second one is okay, but it's not as good. And then the third one, it sounds like the third one has a lot of good stuff going on in that. So I do want to watch those. But yeah, I loved it.
It might be your new favorite series.
I don't know why I haven't seen the sequels yet. I think it's just because I knew that they're not as good. But I gotta watch them.
Yeah,
do it. But yeah, anyway. So, any other final thoughts on Basket Case?
No, man. What
a ride!
It was fun. It was a fun watch.
Absolutely.
What perfect movie for Halloween.
I'm just so glad that you loved it, because it makes me happy.
Hell yeah, dude.
Makes me so happy.
Well, the next one the one that I chose was M. And we were trying to decide, like, would this be like a good movie for, like the Halloween like season podcast or whatever. And I was a little, because I remember I was looking on Letterboxd just trying to find like some, thriller movies or scary movies. And like this movie came, and I think it was like in a list for like thriller. So I was like, okay, well, it has like good reviews and everything. And it it didn't have like any, like it wasn't like scary or anything like that, but it did have some, I would say, suspenseful moments. Not like super terrifying, but kind of like on the edge of your
Mhm.
seat, like, okay, well, like what's gonna happen? And it was primarily like towards the end of the movie where it was like, okay, so like what's gonna happen? Like, are they gonna capture this guy or whatever? But I mean, basically, so M, it came out in 1931, and it was directed by Fritz Lang. Did I do the
Yeah, that's
correct
good.
pronunciation?
Perfect.
Um, and what's crazy about this movie is the fact that the Nazis, like
Yeah.
3 years later, like banned it. And it was stored like in a vault for like 30 years. So like nobody like in Germany like saw this movie, and then they've had to like restore it and everything just because of it. And then the certain ratio for the movie, they had to do it in a different way. And so it's just one of those, I think it's the
Yeah.
oldest movie that we've watched. And it it the crazy part is, even though it was like 1931, like I enjoyed it a lot. And so um but basically the movie is about um this guy in like a German city, Berlin, I'm guessing, that is a serial killer of young children. And then this whole town, it was just kind of crazy too, because the whole town, everybody's just accusing each other left and right. Like they see like a cop like arresting someone like on one of those buses, and everybody's like, is he the killer? Is he the killer? And then everybody started like trying to like attack this guy, but the cops could have just been arresting him for something. So everybody like in the city's like on edge because children are missing, or like they're being found dead or something. And so then the police have been working for several months to try to find the killer. And then you have,
Yeah.
was it the mob,
Yeah,
right?
I think so.
Or like just
Hmm.
like a mob, like some what is it called? Like yeah, I don't know, just I guess a mob. They are, I guess, getting frustrated with the whole process because they're not being able to do their
Hmm.
underworld business. So then they're, in a sense, these crime lords for the city. They're organizing their own manhunt using like beggars to watch children, and they're having like everybody kind of, so it's kind of funny because you have the police like trying to do their investigation, and they're getting close to finding out who it is. And then you have these criminal like underground organization that's also trying to find this person because they want to continue to do the illegal stuff that they're doing. And so I liked that aspect of the film, of how you have, in a sense, like two stories being told of like what they're doing. Um, but yeah, it was the part for me where it was kind of like getting like a little bit of a suspenseful is when the serial killer is like hiding like in a building, and they kind of, the criminals, like the mobber, in a sense, they cornered him and are trying to search throughout this whole building where he is. And so it's just kind of crazy because you don't know what's gonna happen. So, and then like the ending scene of the
Yeah.
movie was just really dramatic and everything.
I really
So
liked it a lot.
what did you think about it?
I thought it was really good. It yeah, dude.
It's just
It's
crazy.
really amazing. Like I
1931.
kept thinking, I was like,
Oh,
holy crap! Like I've seen a few movies from the 30s and like some from the 20s and stuff. But it's just amazing because this was Fritz Lang. Like this is right when they were able to start putting audio in movies, and like this was this is the
yeah, it
first
was his first
talkie
sound
that
film.
Fritz Lang made, um, and just how good it is. It's just amazing how well done it is. And I mean, I kept thinking about David Fincher's Zodiac movie, which we also watched in the film club a while ago, and how this
Hmm.
movie reminds me of that. And I think that it's easily just as good as that. And the only thing that Fincher's film has over this movie is just having the access to modern technology and everything. But this movie's done so well.
Yeah.
It really is amazing. And then the other thing that's crazy too is he basically created two different genres with this movie. Like there were movies with killers in it before, but I feel like this was the first, from what I've seen. It seems like this is the first like serial killer movie that kind of started like that serial killer kind of trend. Yeah.
Well, especially the storyline that they're doing
dark.
too.
I
Like
mean, especially for
children.
1931, it's really dark. And even though all the killings and
Oh,
stuff,
yeah.
like everything happens off screen, like you don't ever see anything happen, but
Yeah.
it is really disturbing seeing like what happens beforehand, and just like it makes you think about it, and it is really it is scary in that way, where it's disturbing the way that it's done. Yes, yeah.
Well, you have the ball rolling down, like the little
Uh-huh.
girl was pulling, like you just see it
The
rolling out of
balloon
a
that
bush,
gets
and then you
caught
see
in
the
the
balloon that he got from
yeah,
the serial killer
yeah, man.
power lines.
Um,
And so you know what happened, but
and
they
then
don't show
seeing like
anything,
like
so
the
it has that aspect
like
to it.
parent, like mom, like waiting at home for their kid to come home and doesn't come home. Yeah, I thought that it was really effective the way he filmed that. And then also I think this movie pretty much invented the like procedural type of genre of movies too. Like, so I think that Fritz Lang it's pretty amazing what he was able to do. Yeah,
It's remarkable
yeah,
what he was able to do.
and a lot of and the cinematography is really good too, and the way like there's some of the tracking shots and some of these shots that I think are really well done. It doesn't necessarily like call so much attention to it, but I feel like the way that he did it was so well done, and it just helped the story, and didn't necessarily distract from the movie. I feel like it served a purpose to make the movie better, and didn't not necessarily draw too much more attention to it. But when you're watching it, you're thinking like, holy crap, like this movie's from 1931, and some of these shots are really good for that time. But yeah, I really liked it, and the ending I thought was really powerful. The his speech at the end, and I think that what Fritz Lang wanted to do, like I think that he succeeds in making you, not that you necessarily, I don't know, like it makes you understand. Like I feel like the movie wants you to understand this character, not necessarily exactly feel bad or like root for him or anything like that, but you do understand him, and you kind of do feel bad in a way of what's going on, and
I think that's what I enjoyed about it the most, was the fact that when they do finally capture the serial killer, like the underground mob or whatever, and they're all like persecuting him, the whole time you're like, okay, just get it over with. Like, yeah, he like is killing children and everything. But then when you stop, and he has like this defense attorney like appointed for him, that's just probably, I thought was a joke or whatever. But then when the defense attorney gets up and he's like, how can you guys judge him when you're doing just as bad of things as well? Like, this guy is sick, like he needs to get the proper help that he does or whatever. And it's like the whole time I was watching that scene, I just kept going back and forth the whole time. I'm like, okay, so do I want him to like be punished? Do I want him to just go to jail and like something happens? And what's crazy about that, this movie came out in 1931, and I feel like with a lot of cases that have happened with murders and stuff, I feel like a lot of people are still having this back and forth like pull of like, does this person need to go seek help, or should we just have him suffer for what he did, if that makes sense? And so it's crazy that we're seeing a movie all the way back then that still applies to what we're seeing today. So
yeah, it's really well done. And then the other thing too that was interesting is, you know, during this period of like with these first talkies that were coming out, most of these movies didn't have like an accompanying score or music that went along with the movie, and so a lot of these movies, they didn't have music, and the only music that's in this movie is when he whistles, and there's something that's really I really like it, and it's kind of chilling, just that whistle, and you know that's him. Yeah, that.
Well, and that's how he gets caught. I mean, I had a feeling like when I was watching when he did it, I was like, I think this blind guy's like gonna be the one that figures it out. So, but I didn't have a problem with it, like when it did happen, because it was like, yeah. But you know, I don't know if you're gonna talk about it, but I saw something that it was Frank was the one that was whistling because the guy that played the serial killer, he couldn't whistle. And what I liked about the whistling was the fact that it wasn't like really clear. Like he kind of paused in areas and it kind of maybe messed up. And it talked about how Frank like said that he purposely liked that because he felt like it was appropriate for the film. The whole whistle. It was creepy too. Because if you can you imagine like hearing that, like to him, that's like a sign of like, okay, I'm about to do my killing and everything. So it makes sense like why the balloon guy, like when he heard that, he's like, oh, I heard that before.
Yeah, and then
balloon.
And I think, you know, the fact that the movie doesn't have any other music or score that goes along with the movie at all, it also kind of adds to the, like, it makes it feel eerie, and I think it works. I mean, I liked it. I liked it. I give it 4 out of 5 stars.
So what would you give it?
On Letterboxd. So, yeah. That was really good.
I gave it 4 as well.
What
did you give Basket Case?
I have it as a 4 out of 5 as well on Letterboxd, but after hearing you give it 4.5, I'm like, man, you know, maybe I should give it a 5. A 5? I don't know.
A 5
I'm going to keep my rating the same, but I love Basket Case.
Yeah, they both were entertaining and both different, and it's crazy how, you know, just how the storylines for both of them have their differences, but you still kind of get this effect of a thriller aspect to it. So
I feel like out of all the horror films and things that we could pick, these are so different, and where M is like the classy choice, or like, oh yeah, 1930s, like the very first serial killer movie, and then we got a friggin' Basket Case, which is just like a cheesy schlock fest of a kind of cult film with just ridiculous, some really bad acting,
and then you have The Exorcist and Evil Dead 2, and
we're doing
just a wide variety. Yes, sir. Well, was there anything else that you wanted to talk about with these movies, or? So, which movies are we going to do next week?
The Vanishing. From, is it 1988 or something like that? Something like that.
Yeah,
excited to watch that. I've never seen it. And we're also watching The Beyond. Yeah, another Italian horror film.
The Beyond.
Lucio Fulci. So, Italiano.
Ooh. Italiano.
So it should be fun.
Hell yeah, man. Super pumped. And then, of course, do we want to... Well, I guess like they probably know that Halloween... On Halloween.
Yeah, so on Halloween, we're planning on doing, so not this coming episode, but the next one's going to come out on Halloween, and we're going to talk about Halloween. So it's going to be fun because Nate's never seen Halloween. And Yeah,
Whoa,
yeah,
whoa,
I'm
whoa,
calling you
whoa.
out. Well, I think it'll be fun
Calling me out.
to
Just
talk to you
kidding.
about it since you've never seen it.
Hell yeah. Maybe I'll watch
Sounds
Jason
good.
Space after
Let's do
that
Let's do it.
too. Awesome.
Me too.
Hell yeah, man.
All right.
Excited.
Well, thanks for listening. Bye.
All right.